To find you all of may Allah protect you from all the things, all the diseases, all the worst things that are here around us, especially Corona. May Allah bless you all. Our today's topic is the continuation of the previous one, where we discussed the demography, the introduction of demography, the different demographic measures, the rates, ratios, and the proportions, the demographic transition cycle or the stages of demographic transition. And then we discussed the demographic trap, and we discussed the population pyramid. And then we discussed the the different means of collecting this demographic various census and the vital statistics like the registration of the marriages, the births, the deaths, the records of the graveyards, the records of the union councils, and records of the births and the admissions and the deaths of different hospitals. So there were different sources of the collection of these data, and then over them there were the surveys to conduct some special to collect some special informations like the demographic health service of Pakistan. So in continuation to that, we were discussing the age pyramid there in that lecture. So continuing, see what the age pyramid is and how does the age pyramid is being constructed and structured, and what this age pyramid reflects, what information this age pyramid to you, and why it is important to construct and keep up to date the age pyramids of different countries. So most important demographic structure or most important indicator of contribution or the contribution of different age group pupils in that country, along with the sex contribution. So the age and sex, two indicators, are very important, or the most important in the same the demographic indicators in demography, and it can be given in a single year or in groups of year. You can draw the graph or draw the bar charts or draw the histograms of these age structure in a single year or in a group of year. For example, 5-year slots, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, and or something like similarly, something like that. So grouping it may be regular, or it averaged in smaller groups or in larger groups or in some structured or uniform groups. Then age is counted from last birthday or to the next one. So the difference between the last and the next birthday is naturally the 1 year. Age may be counted 1 year from the birthday, and it may be grouped in different groups or different age groups. So sex is the another most important demographic variables, and age and sex distribution together help in constructing the age-sex pyramid, population pyramid, or it may also be called the age-sex pyramid. So this is what the population pyramid or the age-sex pyramid, and you can see here in this population pyramid that the lesser the age, the lower down will be the that group. So you may think it that this is 0 to 5 years age bar, then this is 5 to 10, 10 to 15, and similarly the age is increased onward. Then conventionally, on the right side, the females are being plotted, and on the left side, the males are being plotted. So in the population pyramid of the world, in every country, you may see that the younger the pupils, they will pyramid, and the females will be on right side, and males will be on left side. Okay, then graphical representation of age, sex, structural data is given as a histogram. You know, the histogram of are the continuous bars, one beside the other. So if they are with some interval in between them, this is called the bar chart. But if they are adjacent to each other, one bar and then next, then these are called the histogram. So this is a representation of age, sex, structural data, the structure of age and sex contribution of any country in the form of histogram. So this consists of two back-to-back bar graphs with the population plotted on the x-axis and the age on the y-axis. Okay. Now you can see here that age is in the y-axis, okay, increasing, and the population on the x-axis. So this is 0, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in millions or billions, whatever these numbers of the males, and then 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 these numbers of the female. Suppose this is 6 and this is 6 again. So you can see in millions that in this country there are 6 million boys from 0 to 5 years of age and 6 million girls from 0 to 5 years of age. So the total population of under 5 population is 12 millions, and the ratio of contribution is 50-50. So in this way, the x-axis represents the population, number of population, and the y-axis represents the age. One showing the numbers of the male and one showing the number of females in a particular population in 5-year age group. And this is also called cohort. Now see, this is 5-year age group. This is again 5 years, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15. And cohort means a group of the people. So this is the term being used in army term, where a group of the troops marching together is being called a cohort. Taken in this cohort, terminology is being used to represent a group of peoples. With males, as I said, in the population pyramid, they are conventionally shown and by a raw number or as a percentage of the total population. Both the base are there. That here you can write the numbers in numeric 1 million, 2 million, and 3 millions, or you can write it in the and similar like that. Okay. There are different features of a population pyramid, and this is that as I said, and the percentage of each age sex group is given there, and the raw numbers, the crude numbers. A new cohort is born and appears at the bottom, the most lower side of the pyramid, while the cohort above it moves up. For example, here, this is, suppose this is the population pyramid of 2018. Okay, so now the children who are being born in 2019 will come here, and they will be added in this bar. While this is a 5-year chart, means this is a bar of 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015, and 2014. So 2014, the children who are born in 2014 has crossed the 5 years. So they will be excluded from this bar and they will be inducted in this bar. And similarly, the most old will be excluded from this bar, taken out from this bar and inducted in this. And similarly, it will go on up till here. And the population which is going to be died in during this will be excluded here. So each year, this plot will be revived or revised or structured. As the cohorts age, they inevitably lose members because of death and may gain or lose members. There is one way of getting inducted in this population pyramid is the birth, and there is another way of being inducted in this population pyramid is the in-migration, the peoples who are coming from abroad to this country. And then similarly, there are two ways of being exempted or excluded from this population pyramid, and they are the deaths, okay, and the out-migration, the people who are going outside the country. So after the age of 45, attrition process accelerates, the decreasing process, the death process accelerates and causing the narrowing of the peak of all population pyramid. And then you can see that this the base of this population pyramid is broad because every year the new children are born and they are being inducted, and then as they goes on in the pass on their lives, then after the 45s, 50 and 60, the number of deaths increases in this subgroup of population. For example, say this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40. 40 to 45, 45 to 50. Here, the more number of peoples are dying, and naturally, new peoples are not being inducted here. So the pyramid, the bar has started to shrink in here, and less population aged people are here because of the increased death rates in this age subgroup of population. So the population pyramid is conical, and it's a pyramidal in shape. It is narrowed towards the upside, and it is broadened in the lower side. So how can this population pyramid is being used in the day-to-day life, in the demography, in the epidemiology, biological sciences, in planning of the different countries, different planning, educational planning, the economic planning, health planning, and every other thing. For any type of the planning, you have to see the population parameters, that what is the age contribution, what is the sex contribution, and what is the educational contribution in different age groups. So your use of population pyramid is the age sex distribution of population to find it out. Then you find from this population pyramid that what is the male to female ratio of this population, and then what are the birth rates and the death rates. And you can find out the birth rates and death rates from here, how many children, the new children are being inducted here in every year, and how many peoples are deserved. And if this is from 0 to 6 million, then this is from 0, this is 5 million, where this 1 million peoples have gone. Naturally, this is for even if they have been migrated, the children have migrated along with their parents. So it is a very less number, indicating that these peoples are going to die. These children are going to die. And again, this. So you can calculate the age-specific death rates, number of peoples dying under 1 year, meaning the infant mortality rate. How many peoples got burned in the previous year and how many died. You can find out the age-specific death rate of subgroup, what is the under 5 mortality rate. So you can find it from here, and you can find the crude birth rates and crude the birth rate of the whole country, and crude death rate means the death rates of the whole country. So you can find out the birth rate and the death rates of different countries through these parameters, and then you can find out the women's in the childbearing age or the reproductive age group. Now see, the 15 to 45 years of age is the reproductive age. So these from here, the 15 years here, reproductive age is start, and then 15 to 20, 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 35, 35 to 40, and 40 to 45. So this age group of females, this is the population which is in fertile group of females. Okay. The fertility age group of the males are slightly different, but that doesn't especially matter, because what matters is the number of fertile women that are present in any society. So from here you can find out the women who are in childbearing or the reproductive age. Then you get fertility level, that how many children one woman is going to give birth during his entire fertile life, entire reproductive life. And the gross fertility rate of Pakistan is at the time 5.6. It was slightly higher. So it is slightly getting down, and came into up till 4.7. But if you'll see that every fertile woman in Pakistan is during her whole fertile life. Okay, and this gross fertility rate is 2 or even 1. That means that every woman during fertile life or the reproductive life is giving birth to only 2 or less than even 2 number of the children during her whole fertile life. So it also gives you the past and future trends of the population momentum. You can find from the demographic pyramid or the population pyramid that what the disasters has gone in the previous years, in the past years, and according to the trends, according to this population momentum, what will be the shape of this population pyramid in future? You may predict in 2025 what will be the shape, how much population will be of this area, and in 2050, etc. You can predict the future nature of the population pyramid of any country, and we will come to it in our further coming slides. Then you can see the demographic transition. I explained the demographic transition to you in the previous lecture, that how it is in the 4 stages, that in the first stage, the high birth rates and the high mortality. More people are getting born and more people are dying. And that's why population is not increasing. 1,000 are getting born, 1,000 are dying. So high birth and high mortality rates. Then what happened in the second stage, that the death rate start declining. Okay, but the birth rate remains constant. So death rate is declining, birth rate is constant. So this gap is the increase in population. In this era, the population increases. Okay, and what happens in the third stage, that the birth rates start slightly declining. So the population is even increasing, but it is increasing in slightly less rate. So the population increase is decreasing, growth rate is decreasing. And then the fourth and the last stage, where the birth rates are low and the death rates are low as well. So the population is maintained again. So the first and the last stages, the growth rates are maintained. Population is not increasing. In the first stage, because birth rate is high, but the death rate is also high. In the last stage or the fourth stage, the death rates are low and the birth rates are low as well. So the population is not increasing, but in between the two, the population is increasing in the second stage with a great momentum, and in the third stage with slightly lesser momentum. We will discuss in the further slide with the diagrams. Then dependency ratio. We may find out the dependency ratio. What the dependency ratio is? Dependency ratio means how many people are dependent on the populations who are earning. So that means how many people in the family are not earning and how many are earning. So if you see in the dependency ratio of the Pakistan, it is 1:4, meaning on every single earning person, 4 people are dependent. How this dependency ratio is being calculated? Which population is dependent? Naturally, under 15 years of age, they are dependent on their parents or the elders, and then over 65 years of age, and they are old people, they are again dependent on their office parents. So our numerator will be the population under 15 and plus population over 65. This will the both will come on numerator as numerator, and denominator will be the population in between 15 to 65. These are the earning pupils. So dependency ratio will come there multiplied by 100. So you can find out the dependency ratio, and then the median age of population by sex. So what is the median age? What are the mortality level by age and sex? What is the mortality rates in different age groups? What is the infant mortality rate? What are the under 5? Infant means children less than 1 year. What is the under 5 mortality rate? What is the male mortality rate? What is the male mortality rate? What are the maternal mortality rates? How many women are being died during the birth process? And similarly, other age-specific, sex-specific, cause-specific mortality rates in groups. Then you can find out the migration trends, in-migration and out-migration through these population parameters, how many people are going out and how many people are going in. If you will see the migration trends of Pakistan, you can find out that there are more people who are out migrating. If you just exclude the in-migration of the Afghan refugees in the era's decades of 80s, so 30 to 35 lakhs, more than 3 millions in-migrated here. But if you keep this political or the war in migration on a side, however, your demographic representation and the population parameters, then you can see exempting this that more peoples from Pakistan are migrating out towards the more advanced countries. But if you'll see another population parameter of, say, United Arab Emirates or the Saudi Arabia, you can find it out, or even United States, you can find out the peoples who are out migrating are less as compared to the in-migration. So you can find it out from these parameters. Then calamities, there's the natural calamities, there's the natural and there's the natural and the man-made. What are the disasters there? Natural disaster, the terrorism is not a natural disaster. And then there are the different conspiracy theories in different epidemics, etc. So if you think is near about more than 15 14 millions, 1,000 near about deaths are there, 1.5 lakh. Say, deaths are there in the different countries. So these are the disaster which may affect and which you can find out by looking or by studying this population pyramid. Then what are the economic stability of a country? All these things we will see one by one, that how can we study these things and a population pyramid. So this is an exemplary population pyramid of any country that is being made in 1975. And you can see this top population, this is being born in 1875, and the most bottom, this is the update. This population is being born in between 1971 to 1975, and then the other 5 years group, 1966, 70, and then forth and so on. So this is a population parameter. Now see the characteristic of this population pyramid. If you will see that this is very broadened at the bottom. Means there are large population who are in the lower age groups, under 5, under 10, under 15. And as the peoples are getting elderly, their population is decreasing on both sides. Means there is high death rate in this country from where this population pyramid is belonging. And this is, you can see, this is concave outside. Okay, this is something like moon. Concavity is towards outside. This indicates the high mortality rates. And then you can see that the sex contribution is almost the same, 50% females and 50% males on both the sides, except in the more elder groups where there are more females as compared to the males, indicating that expectancy of female groups, and but it is about 75, but it is slightly more in females. The females are living a slightly longer life as compared to male. So these are the different characteristics that you can find in a glance in this population pyramid, and you can not find any disaster in between. How can you see disaster? You can find further slides. Now see, in this elaborated population pyramid of the same kind, this is the age group 0 to 5, 4, 5 to 9 age. And you can see that almost the age distribution is similar with slightly increased males. And here 10 million females, and here near about 11 million males. So you can see the sex contribution of this country, male to sex, is sex ratio is 51 to 50%. Means 51 to 49% means if there are 51 males, there are 49 females. And similarly, then you can see that the population less than 15 years of age are 43% here. Okay, and then again you can see that the population 15 to 64, and these are who are these persons? These are the earning persons, are going to work and they're earning some money, and they are 53%. So you can see that 53% of the peoples are earning, but 43 plus 4%, these 4% are more than 65 and more than 65. So means that 43 and 4, near about 47% of the peoples are not earning. Means this 47% of population is dependent, okay, on these 53% of the population. So the dependency ratio is almost equal 1%, 1:1. So this is you can find out these findings from. Now, then another thing, see, this is the females in the reproductive age groups from 15 to 45. So 22% of the females are there in reproductive age groups, and through there you may find out that how many children are going to be born in the next year. So you see, through these are the different stages of the demographic pyramid of a country, where the birth rates are high and the death rates are high as well. So their population will not increase. Okay, as many people are going to be born, they as the same number of the peoples more or less are going to be die. So their population pyramid will be typically a pyramidal conical shape with a concavity outside, more number of the pupils in the younger age group. And as they will pass on through the further years of their life, the deaths will occur there, and the number of population in the elder age group will start towards the attrition, towards the shrinkage, and at the apex there will be appearance. So this is the first stage. But if the birth rate is high in the second stage, and death rate is decreased. So due to the advancement of science, advancement of health, advancement of medicine, the death rates has been decreased. But there is no decline in the birth rate. Then what will happen? Then the population pyramid of that country will be like that. This concavity will be lost, and the more number of the peoples will be born, but the same number of peoples will not die. The life expectancy will be increased to very high numbers. And so, if the life expectancy here is 60, this will go to 65 or 70, and the more number of people will be here in the other age groups as well, because the number of death is less. If the more numbers have been died here, then this graph will be like that, concavity like here. And then you see the birth rate is slightly declining. Now you see it is declining very slightly. Okay, but the death rate has declined to a substantial number, to a gross number. Then what will happen? All age will be here. All age groups will be more and more in numbers. The people who are burning here, they are going up till the last of the pyramid, and the pyramid is not shrinking in the upper areas or the upper age groups. And this population is increasing with a high growth rate, a high number of the growth rates. So these are the areas where Pakistan, India, and most of the developed countries are being present. Their death rates has been declined or is declined considerably, but their birth rate has not been declined. That is why their growth rate is 3.1 or 2.9. So, and you know that the 2% growth rate means the population will double in 35 years. I give you the formula of doubling of the time, 70 divided by the growth rate. So if the growth rate of any country is 2%, what that means, 2%, then that every on 100, if the population is 100 this year, it will be 102 in the next year. If the population is 1 lakh this year, the population will be 1 lakh and 2,000 in the next year. This is the 2% growth rate. And with this 2% growth rate, the population of any country will be doubled in 35 years. So this is what the doubling and increasing of the population are occurring in these two pyramids. But now come to the stage 4, where the birth rates are low and the death rates are low. Now you see the less number of the peoples are being born. The more number of the peoples who has been born previously, they are present here in the upper higher ages groups, but in the lower age groups, there are low numbers. So there is low birth rate, low death rate, higher dependency ratio is even there, because these under 15 population and more than 65 population, they are more in number, and this earning population, as comparatively, they are even more, but more number of the peoples they have to bear. So you have first stage, the high birth rate, rapid fall in each upward age group due to high death rates, and short life expectancy. You can see after 65, they are not surviving as much, as very less number of the people. Then the second stage, high birth rate, death rate has started decline, fall in death rate as more living in middle age groups and slightly longer life expectancy. See, the group of the peoples who are more than 65 years of age are more as compared to this. But here, the death rate has declined considerably, and the birth rate has started to decline. So the more peoples living to old age groups. So these are more. And this is the low birth rate and low death rates. So higher dependency ratio, longer life expectancy, how much more peoples are above 65 years of age. So the same you can see now these different types of population parameters, different stages of the demographic transition, and you can see the examples of that. And you see, this is the population parameter of Japan in 1995. This is very interesting figure diagrams here, and you can see what is this? Then you can see that the birth rates are declining slightly. So there are very low number of the peoples under 5 years of age, or under 10 years of age, or under 15 years of age. So the birth rate is declining very slightly. Then you can see a lot of number of the peoples are being born here in these areas. So what that is, and less number of the people are being born here. And this is what they call the Ainoma air. What is this Ainoma air? You just think this is your assignment. However, I will explain in the next commenting slide what is the Ainoma air and why this. Any one of you, if you want to reply, the chat is open. He can reply here. What is the Ainoma air in 1 minute before we should go to the second slide explain. Then you see these here the birth rates are very less. Less number of the peoples are being born here, or in other words, you can say more number of the peoples have been died here. Okay, that is why the population in these years are being very less on the both sides. You can see this maybe, and this furrow. You see the less number of the population here. Very large number of the peoples are being died in these years. And what are these years? These are the World War II. More number of the peoples died, less number of the children born. Why? Because the more number of the male persons were there on war. They were not at home. So the birth rates were low, and the death rates were low as well. Then again here you see the populations are less, and this furrow in the population, depth in the population pyramid indicates that something happened here. What is this? This is the Sino-Japanese incident. What is Sino-Japanese incident? I will explain in the next slides again. Up till that, you think it what is Sino-Japanese incidents? Incidents. Then because of the World War II mortality, these peoples who died here, and they did not reach in the ages of the 80 and 90 years. So these are the peoples who were here in the 45 years of age. The peoples above the ages of the 80 and 85 and 90 and 100, they are very less number, in less number here, because most of the peoples who are being born here, they are being died in the World War II. Okay, what is this Ainoma? Ainoma, there are 2 years. This is a calendar event that occurs every 60 years. The last was in 1966, which you saw here. These are the Ainoma years, 1966, where less number of the children are being born, and the next will be in 2026. So what does that mean? As with the astrological birth signs of the West, the Japanese use a modification of Chinese astrology. This is Chinese thinking according to astrology, that these years, a 12-year cycle of the astrological beast. And 1966 was the year of the horse, but it was a special kind of, rather than nasty horse, a fire horse, or a haino, oma in Japanese. And the girls born in that year became known as the fire horse women, and are reputed to be dangerous. They are being called dangerous. Yeah, you can say manus jo hai in Urdu. So the girl born in these years, 1966 and 2026, they are being considered as dangerous. So the peoples don't like to produce or to give birth to the girls in these years, and headstones and generally bad luck babies for any husbands. So in 1966, baby sex at that time, baby sex could not be reliably detected before birth. Hence, there was a large increase of the induced abortion and a sharp decrease in the birth rate in 1966. Okay, what happened that in 1966, there was no such technology to find out the sex of fetus in womb, like today for ultrasound. So everybody who was being got pregnant during that, he did the induced abortion. So there were less number of the children born there. But what will be happen in 2026 in these Japanese and the Chinese area, where they believe on this astrology that the girls are being produced in those years will be dangerous like a pirate horse. So this is what the Hainoma air of the Japan. And then the another terminology used here, Sino-Japanese incidents. This Sino-Japanese incidents was the wars in between the China and Japan. This was their racial war, and there are more than 26 wars occurs in those two countries, and large number of the peoples, the Wuhan War, the Beijing War, and there are many war named, and these decrease the population of Japan in these countries, and same happening will have occurred on the Chinese as well. If you will see the population pyramid of the Chinese, there will be large number of mortalities because of these Japanese incidents. But more probably in the China, there will be less number of mortality in this World War II era, because the China did not actively participate in World War II, while the Japan losed millions of the peoples in the war, and then as a result of the two atomic explosion there in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So now you see, population pyramids are used to show information about the age and gender of the peoples in a specific country. Then you can see in this country, there is a high birth rate. As you can see, the more number of the peoples in the lower area 0 to 4 and 4 to 5 10. Then you can see there is also a high death rate, because the peoples who are getting born 2 million, and when they reach here, many peoples have died, and reaching up to 15 years, they are near about 1.5 million. So 500,000 peoples are being lost in the 15 years. So high death rates, and this is giving a concave appearance to this population pyramid. And then you can see is the population. This population pyramid is typical of the countries in the poor part of the world's lower socio-economic countries. So now see this population pyramid of the Bangladesh in year 2000, and you can see this is typically, if you see up till here, see, don't see below this green bar chart. If you will see up till here, this is year 2000. Okay, means 2000 to 1995, 1995 to 90. If you will see the population pyramid of Bangladesh in 1990 here, this is a typical population parameter of a developing country, being pyramidal, being conical, and the concavity outward. But what happened that after 1990, they started decreasing their birth rate. Okay, so in this country, the birth rate started falling in 1990, and now you can see less number of the peoples in 1995 to 2000, and then 1990 to 1995. Slightly increase again, but there was a considerably decrease in this 5 years era. So they are in the second stage or the third stage of the demographic transition, that their death rate is decreased, and their birth rate is decreasing again. And then you see the population pyramid of this country. This country is a low birth rate and low death rate. So the population is consistent in all age group near about. Okay, when the further years will be passed, these groups of the population will come here, and it will be a very symmetrical all along from the births. What the birth rate is, the same almost plus minus are the death rates. So life expectancy is more, and the more number of the peoples are here in plus 80, plus 85 years. So this looks like a population pyramid of a advanced country like the Japan and the Germany or the their USA, United Kingdom. So that low birth rate, low death rate, long life expectancy, and the peoples are living long. The largest category of the people were born about 40 years before, and after that, since the last 40 years, the birth rate are declining. Okay. Then, in this country, the number of the peoples in each age group is about the same. You can see here, very symmetrical. So, this population pyramid is typical of the countries in the richer parts of the world, the more developed countries. Now, you see this population pyramid, okay? In this country, the birth rate is falling sharply. So, you can see that 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, there was a high birth rate. But since last 25 years, this birth rate is declining considerably, and less number of the children are being born. So 25 years ago, 2.5 million girls, and similarly, near about 2.5 million boys were born. So the 5 million people born here, but here only if you see 1.25, 1.25, so 2.5 children has been born, less than half of the birth rate of 25 years ago. So that is why the population of this age group are less, and the population of this age group, which are fertile, number one, and which are earning, number two, they are more. So in the future, the elderly people will make up largest section of the population in this country, because these pupils after 25 years will be here. So they will be the largest proportion of the population segment, and the 15 to 45 and less than 15, they will be less. Okay, and this is happening more and more in many of the developed countries, that their population is shrinking, their population is decreasing. They are facing the minus growth rate. So means the minus growth rate, that two parents are giving born to only one child. So two parents are dying, but they are not being replaced. They are being 50% replaced, one children. So their growth rate is negative, meaning their population is decreasing. For example, Germany, the Denmark, the Hungary, the Norway, the Sweden, and these all countries, they are facing the minus growth rate. So their population of the elder peoples are very much high, and the population of the youngers and the children are very low. So now see, what about this population pyramid? Very less number of females as compared to males. A very large number of males there. What is happening to the females of this country? Why their number is not in comparison with the males there? Think about it. What is happening here? Okay. See, large number of the peoples are getting temporarily in-migrated in this country. So think about which country this may be, where their own population is less, but the in-migrating males, because the males in-migrate there for their jobs. So the population of the males are very much higher as compared to, see, in this age group, 40 to 44 years of age, females are near about 20,000, but males are near about 60,000, 3 times more than the females. So which country this may be? Think about it. You may reply it on your chats. So you see this Japan in 2000. Now more number of the peoples in the middle age groups, and very less number of the peoples in the under 4, under 5, under 10, or under 15 years. So their population is consistently decreasing. Less number of the children up till the time in 2000. This is 20 years ago. This population has now come to here, because this 60 has become 80. So this the greatest bars are being here now. So the population into 2020 of this Japan will be not like this. More number of the people above the 60 years, less number of the people here. Now see in 2025 what happened to Japan. Okay, more number of the peoples above 50 years of age. So the most prominent population is there 50 to 55. More number of the peoples here above 80, above 90, and the less number of the peoples in between less than 15 to 40. These are the earning peoples. So they are being less, and very less number of the peoples. So see, these are 10 millions, 5 here and 5 here, 10 millions population from 50 to 55, but only 2.5 and 2.5, nearby 5 million population, 5 to 20. So see, there's a difference of double of less than 5 people. So now see, what will be the population pyramid of Japan in 2050? It will be like that. Most of the population will be above 65, above 70, and below it, this will be very less. But further after 50 years, what will be the, say 25 years, what will be the population, how will be the population pyramid of Japan in 2075? You see, these all populations have been died, okay, because they will have crossed 80, 90, 100, and the population pyramid will become like this, is straightened. See, 2 million from birth up to the 2 and the 2.5 millions, 2.6 million years, and then tapering here slightly. So this will be a very straight, it is almost a straight up right now if you exclude these data, but these will be no more in the world after 25 years. This will be a very straightened graph. As many people are being born, as many people are being died. And this will be a stable one, or will be slightly decreasing population pyramid. Now see, what is the population age pyramid structure of the Pakistan in 2000, and see high number of the births, high number of the peoples in the less than 5, less than 10, less than 15 years of the group. These are the dependent population. Then decreasing population because of the high fatality rates, high death rates, and concavity towards outside. Very less number of the peoples above 60 years of age, less life expectancy. This is a typical population pyramid of a developing country, where there are high birth rate and where there are high death rates as well. The peoples are getting born, but they are being died. See, these peoples who are being born here, 10 million here, 10 million here, but out of them, 1 million died before 15 years of age. So the population which was 10 plus 10, 20 million here became only 18 million, 2 million has been died. And the same in the upper bar graphs. Now see, what is the population, what was the population pyramid of Pakistan in 2010? And you can find that these consistently high birth rates. So the death groups, the cohort of the peoples here, they are increasing day by day. The death rates has started declining. Okay, so previously you saw that before 18, 2 million people, 1 million here and 1 million here were died, but here less number of the people are dying. So there are more number of the people living here under 15, and the death rate is decreasing continuously, and the expectancy, life expectancy has increased. So more number of the people above 60 years of age, and the people are not now approaching above 80 as well. So you see, the 80 plus was that much less than 2000, but now the 80 plus are that much. So life expectancy has increased. What difference has occurred? That the death rate has declined. This is the second stage, but the birth rate is not declining. So there is very high momentum of increase of population here. And then you see the same momentum of population growth is going on from 2010 and to 2020. No progress there. So more number of the peoples are being born consistently, and high populations in the lower age groups. Death rate is declining, so this concavity is lost, and this has become almost a straight line. Okay, and more peoples are living, increased in the population facing, and this will lead to the scarcity of resources, and that will again revert back to the previous stage, that death rate will become high. Okay, then you see, this will be Pakistan, this will be your Pakistan in 2050 if the birth rate did not decline. There will be large number of population explosion there, large number of the peoples in each age group, and the peoples are not dying because the death rates has been decreased, they are getting born. if we have decreased the birth rate, this population pyramid will be like this, like Bangladesh. Remember the population pyramid of Bangladesh, which was declined after 1990. So ideally, this would have been like this. The more number of the peoples in the middle age, but the less number of the peoples in lower age groups because of the decreased birth rates. But it has not happened, and that is why we are facing a growth rate of near about 2.9% or near about 3%, and our population is increasing very speedily. So, three general profiles of population pyramid. Population of the countries can differ markedly as a result of the past and the current patterns of fertility. High birth rate, low birth rate, very low birth rate. So for mortality, high death rates or the low death rates, the migration, in-migration or out-migration, and these factors effects on the population structure of the population pyramid. However, they all tend to fall into three general profiles of each sex. There may be three, and all three you have seen. The rapid growth rate, as was the Pakistan, the low growth rate, as was of their Bangladesh, and zero growth rate, as there was of Japan. So these three trends are being usually found, and any population pyramid can be included in any one of these three groups. So the rapid growth is indicated by a pyramid with a large percentage of the pupils in the younger ages, triangular shape, broad base, and concave at sides. So the pyramidal, concave, but outside concavity. High birth rate and high death rates, particularly at infancy, meaning more infant mortality rate, more under 5 mortality rate, etc. Characteristic of a developing country, for example, Pakistan. And then slow growth rate is reflected by a pyramid with the smaller proportion of the population in the younger ages. So the younger ages are being declining now, narrow base or rectangular in shape, similarly. Low levels of fertility and high proportions, low levels of fertility and high proportion of elderly. Okay, characteristic of the most developed countries, for example, Switzerland and USA. Then there is zero growth. Zero growth or the decreasing population are shown by roughly equal numbers of the peoples in all age groups. Okay, tapering off gradually at the older ages. Beehive or barrel-shaped pyramids are being here, and you have seen the low fertility rate and low mortality rate. Deaths are low and the births are low as well. And the population pyramids of the Germany or the Spain or the Sweden are the example. Now you see the three population pyramids. So the population pyramid of zero growth rates, this is Germany. The population pyramid of slow growth rate, like United States, and the population pyramid of high birth rates, for example, the Kenya, for example, the Pakistan, etc. Okay, and there is a very great major difference in between all of them. So the changes in population pyramid, how does it occur? That from the stage 1, very high birth rate and high death rate, it is being conical, concave outside, more number of the peoples are being born, more number of the peoples are being died, less life expectancy, to the slow growth rate, where the birth rate are declining, death rate has already been declined, so less number of the pupils, narrow base, and broadened middle side, and then the broadened upper side as well, and then to the slow growth or the minus growth, like Sweden or Germany, etc. So see, the less number of the peoples, consistently decreasing birth rates and decreased death rates as well. And now you see what will happen. Okay, so to the both, you see European Union, the slow growth rate or the zero growth rate, their population pyramid in 1950 and their population pyramid in 2050. There was a near about similar number of the numbers of each subgroup of the population. Here, the population is not increasing or being increasing very slightly. And in 2015, their population will slightly decrease, but will be stable or the consistent. You see, very same number of the population pyramid up till 80 years, then after which the physical deaths started to occur, the senile deaths. But what will happen to this country, the North Africa and West Asia, in which all our countries are, Pakistan, etc., are being included? Broad-based, conical at the end, less life expectancy. And what will happen? The death rate started decline, but the birth rate did not decline. So more number of the pupils in each group, and it will become a dome shaped in 2050. And this will lead to war, this will lead to scarcity, this will lead to terrorism, less availability of the food or education or resources to every pupils if they did not decrease their birth rate. This was the population pyramid of the country, where in-migration is more like the United Arab Emirates, etc. Then you can see more number of the males, and especially the males in the job group or the earning group. So in-migration of the males here, and the population pyramid of United Arab Emirates in 1995 is shown. Which of the following is seen in this? In-migration, high fertility, or male predominance? Naturally, this indicates A, in-migration of the males. This is not because of high fertility or abortion of the females there. Thank you very much for your kind attention, everyone. If there is any question, we may take it.
Shall I end करें sir? End करें sir? Yes.
जी.
Thank you sir. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Okay. Thank you. Allah.